Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia, and today we're going to talk about the 8 things that you need to know before moving to Colorado Springs. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also that bell to get notified when I make new videos each week talking about everything that is Colorado Springs. So let's begin with the 8 things that you need to know before moving here. Number 8, north versus south facing homes. The direction that your home faces does matter when you live here. If you have a north facing home, you are going to have a lot of snow on your driveway and porch and yard for a lot longer than the south facing homes. If you're south facing, that snow is going to be melted by probably noon, maybe the next day. We don't have a lot of snow that sticks around to begin with, but when we do, if you have a north-facing home, you probably are going to have snow for 2 to 3 days after, across the street, your neighbor with the south-facing home, their snow was gone by noon, or at least the end of the day. So that definitely can make a difference when you're looking to buy, especially if you're into gardening. A lot of plants and flowers need X amount of sunlight, so if that's kind of your thing, you're definitely going to want to kind of look into a south-facing home. And then just if shoveling your snow is not your thing, like me, south-facing homes definitely they have it better. So that's definitely one thing to know. You wouldn't think that it makes a difference, but it does here in Colorado Springs. And then at number 7 is Colorado Springs loves their sports. Yes, Colorado has all the known pro teams, the Broncos, the Nuggets, the Rockies, but Colorado Springs is home to its own set of athletes. And first off, we have the Olympic Training Center here, which is super cool because you get to see a lot of athletes around town and throughout the year, not just those Olympic years, training, hanging out, biking, hiking, swimming, whatnot. So that's really cool. We also have the Pikes Peak or Bus Pro Rodeo, which is going on like its 80th year. It's really big. It's here like every July for about 2 weeks. It's a pretty, big rodeo. I haven't been to a whole lot of rodeos in my life, but the one here, a lot of people turn out for it. It has some big qualifiers that come. The bull riding's always awesome. Like I said, it's just been this long, timely tradition. So we definitely have a lot of turnout for the Pikes Peak or Bus Rodeo. We also just recently had a new stadium built here for our new pro soccer team, the Switchback. They just started having their first game, I think, like the beginning of May of this year, May 2021. I haven't been to any games yet, but from what I'm hearing, they're winning, they're kicking butt. The stadium is awesome, beautiful. People are really enjoying that, so that's really cool. And I'm going to say one of my favorite Colorado Springs-based sports teams is the Air Force Academy football. Obviously, Air Force Academy has, their basketball team, their track team, their golf, their whatever. But Air Force Academy football games are some of the coolest games you're ever gonna see. The tailgating is always awesome. And for big rival games, like against Navy, they always have the Thunderbird flyovers, like do the whoosh. That's always super cool. Everybody loves that. I'm getting all emotional talking about it now. But that's always really cool. They're actually a pretty good football program. When they play Navy, Navy's also a pretty good football program. Like I said, that's one of their big rivals. And they just have a lot of cool traditions that happen during those games with their marching band, with their students. And one of their favorites, besides the flyover, I love is that when the opposing team, Navy, scores, the cadets, the Air Force cadets, have to get down and do that many push-ups. So whatever the score is, if it's like Air Force 28 to 21, you just see a sea of cadets all dressed in their blue drop down and start doing push-ups to the amount that the other team just scored. So that's always really cool. That's good football. Okay, then at number 6, I'm going to say it's elevation and weather. Everyone knows that Denver is the mile-high city. They sit at 5,280 feet above sea level, but Colorado Springs is even higher. We're at just over 6,000 feet. And so you definitely have to be careful with the elevation, and if you're not used to it, when you're moving here or even visiting, you definitely have to let yourself get acclimated. That's everything from like staying hydrated, using chapstick, lotion, watching your alcohol intake. I mean, there's just a lot of things. Like if you're not used to being this high up, it definitely could be hard for you breathing when you're out and about, you know, walking your dog, kind of just doing anything. Elevation sickness, or altitude sickness, I should say, is definitely a thing. Even as a native, I still get it once in a while when I go hiking, and I definitely get it if I'm at a high altitude hiking or just, I don't know, just out and about, and I come down in elevation very quickly. Like I said, mostly when I'm hiking, I can develop altitude sickness that way. So you definitely have to be prepared for that. And I think it's we have that altitude swing quite a bit because we sit at the base of Pikes Peak Mountain, and also it's Colorado Springs is kind of like in a bowl with the mountain right here. So we get some really funky weather. We get all 4 seasons in one day pretty often. We do get 300 days of sunshine. We have more sun than Florida, and it's mostly kind of dry and hot here. But we definitely get all 4 seasons when it should be spring or just fall or just winter. Those seasons, we definitely get all 4 seasons. I mean, it is not uncommon for it to be snowing when you wake up, and then by noon, sunny, dry, that night raining, and then again snowing. In the morning it's sunny and hot. Like that is just a very common thing. Like we have some crazy weather changes here. Probably I would say 4 to 5 times out of the year, we have some extreme temperature changes where it does go from like 90 one day to 43 the next. Or, you know, it's been freezing in the morning when I wake up. It's like 29, 30 degrees. And then by 4 p.m. it's almost 80. Like we do get that, I would say 4 to 5 times a year, and you do have to be careful on those days. Even as a native, I get really bad migraines, like that barometric pressure just, it's too much for me too fast. So another thing to be aware of. It's not, like I said, like that all the time, but most people here who are native and who are used to it, we kind of just wear layers. We wear hoodies, shorts, and flip-flops, or hoodies, shorts, and tennis shoes if that's your thing. I'm more of a tennis shoe girl. But I mean, you kind of just get used to it, and you just want to dress in layers all the time because you're going to be peeling layers off. You're going to go to work one day bundled up in the snow, and when you come out for lunch, like literally only at lunch, maybe early evening, it's going to be hot. Like it's going to be hot. You're going to want to peel down in layers. And the same, vice versa. You're going to go to work one morning or drop the kids off for school, and the kids are going to be like t-shirt and shorts. And by the time you go pick them up, like you're picking them up in a blizzard. So that actually happens more in our spring, winter, fall. You kind of get all of them. Summertime is pretty summer. It's hot, it's dry, it's super sunny, a couple of rain showers here and there. But the other seasons are all 4 seasons wrapped in one. So just, you need to be prepared. And then at number 5 is being physically active. Not just our Olympian athletes like to be active. The majority of people in Colorado Springs love being active. We have so many trails that people love to hike on, bike on. We're big into golfing. We're big into boating. There's like a nearby reservoir about 30 minutes away, 30 to 45 minutes away. People love to boat. People love just the parks throughout town. People love the dog parks. We have a lot of dog parks, and people love their dogs here. And I really like about the city is you don't have to go like into the mountain. You don't have to go to the west side of the town to go find some trails. There are great trails. There's Cheyenne Mountain like National Park, tons of parks, national parks, but you don't even have to do that. You can if you want, make it an all-day thing. But I like how a lot of the neighborhoods here in town actually have trails that run through the neighborhood. So kind of like as an example, if you have your house here and you know, you might have a backyard with a fence, then your neighbor, sometimes their fence backs up to you. You guys like share a fence. That's a thing. But then a lot of times, a lot of neighborhoods and suburbs here, they have like, here's your backyard and fence. Here's your neighbor's backyard and fence. And then in between is kind of like a trail that runs either through your suburb or actually through the whole city. Some trails run through the whole city. So that's kind of nice because I like to run outside, and sometimes I don't want to be on the road because I don't want to have to look for cars, and I don't want to have to just be in the way, and I have my headphones in and I'm zoning out. And I like that I can just kind of jump in my neighborhood in those back trails without having to worry about other pedestrians and vehicles and whatnot. So I really like that some of the trails run through the suburbs and neighborhoods. Okay, and at number 4, I didn't think this was a thing until I started like dealing with more out-of-state clients. But apparently it is, and it makes sense. It just never dawned on me since I'm born and raised here. But basements. Colorado homes have a lot of basements. I've always grown up and had a basement in every house I've ever lived in. Single family, obviously apartments, townhomes, condos, just the way they're set up, they don't. But a single family home, for the most part, like every home here in Colorado and Colorado Springs, like has basements. And I just thought that was so funny when my out-of-town clients started noticing that. Like it wasn't good or bad to them. They just were like, yeah, there's a lot of basements here. I was like, well, yeah, like why wouldn't there be? So that's just one thing. Even people who like ranch style homes, you might have a basement just because, you know, the city kind of sits, it's hilly, there's a lot of elevation. So when you're building, you kind of can't help it. Even if you want to ranch, sometimes you have to like, your home sits like this and then it kind of drops off because it's on a hill. Well, you need, you know, a basement to hold up the rest of your house. So whether you actually want a basement or not, some new builds are just including them because they just have to from where the lot sits. And basements, I think, are a pro here in Colorado. There's just so much more space. I know people always say you can build up. Well, I know, but you can build down too here. And pros about having a basement is they stay nice and cool. There's just more room. I mean, every time I've ever seen a basement, it was used for extra bedrooms, a playroom for the kids, a game room, a man cave, to anything, like a mother-in-law suite, you know, a whole nother area. I know some people like having the basement because then they can just add a little kitchenette and rent it out for that extra income. So just something to know when you're moving here. If you're from out of state and you're like from North Carolina, Louisiana, something like that, we have basements almost in every home. So like I said, I never thought that was a big deal, but apparently if you're not from here, it is. Coming in at number 3 is going to be traffic. I'm going to say traffic because our traffic isn't that bad. It's getting worse. It's getting worse every year because we're just having more people move here, and that's due to Denver up north just getting too expensive. And I have a lot of clients that are like, I just can't afford Denver anymore. I need to move to the Springs and I'll commute. Our military here, people coming in, just the fact that it's so beautiful and desired. We have a lot less strict COVID restrictions than some other states. I know everybody's kind of lightening up at the moment, but for a while there, we definitely had less restrictions with some of our COVID stuff. So traffic is getting worse. It's not nearly as terrible as, you know, like Houston, Atlanta, LA, some of those really big cities. It's nothing like that, so don't worry. It's not even as bad as Denver, but it is getting worse. And there's not really any way, like there's not quick ways to shoot crosstown, like east to west. There's like one main bypass that is kind of down south that you can shoot, which is kind of quick, east to west, west to east. But otherwise, you got to go north to south on one of like 3 main drags, which is like I-25, Academy, and then Powers. Those 3 run up and down, north to south, south to west. Sorry, south to north. They run up and down, and you kind of just got to take one of those and then break off and make your way kind of in through town, whichever way you need to go. So that can get a little congested, definitely around rush hour. Our rush hour here is like 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and then also probably like 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And Fridays are, of course, always hectic because people like want to get out, they want to get home, they want to go start their weekend. You can definitely expect a lot of traffic when it's like Bronco game day, Sunday Bronco games, because since Colorado is such a huge Bronco fan state, you got people from everywhere. You got people from like the southern Colorado towns too that are coming up. So game days for the Broncos, you're gonna have a lot of traffic all day. Air Force Academy football game days, a lot of traffic. Rush hour, like I said, is not too bad. Those 3 main drags that I talked about, I-25, Academy, and Powers, they, for the most part, are 3 lanes wide. It's probably going to have to expand the next couple of years, but for the most part, it'll take you about 40 minutes to get from one end of town to the other. Right now for Denver, I think it's like an hour and a half. So it's not too bad, but like I said, it's definitely getting worse. And at number 2, Colorado Springs is more conservative. It leans a little right, like on a national scale, a little more right than, kind of neutral, I guess. It's pretty neutral compared to the rest of the country, maybe starting to lean a little bit more right, but compared to the rest of the state of Colorado, it's definitely more conservative. A couple reasons is our mayor is a Republican and pretty conservative. We have Focus on the Family here. We have their headquarters here, and Focus on the Family is a Christian organization that promotes a lot of Christian conservative views. They actually have a 47-acre facility that has its own zip code. So you can imagine the influence that they have here in town and kind of what they have their hand in. And then also just our military bases. We have 5 military installments here. We have people coming in from all over. We got, Army, Air Force, NORAD, I could go on. But those 3 reasons are kind of the more reasons of why we're leaning a little bit more conservative than we have in the past years, but we've always been way more conservative than the rest of the state. And so we'll just kind of see how that goes moving forward the next couple of years. And the number one thing to know when moving to Colorado Springs, if you didn't know already, it's that we are a heavy military town. We do have 5 military installments. We have the Air Force Academy. We have Peterson Air Force Base. We have Fountain Fort Carson Army Base. We have Schriever Air Force Base. We have NORAD. I think we have Space Force coming here. That was still kind of up in the air. We have Lockheed Martin, not a military base, but a lot of military influence. So we do have a lot of military here. That's, how you feel about that. That's your opinion. I've had a lot of military in my family, uncles and grandpas. My brother even was in the Navy. So, you just see it everywhere. And I guess as a pro, if you are a vet, everywhere you go, you kind of get military discounts. I get a little jealous actually sometimes. You go to a restaurant, you get a military discount. You go to the DMV and you get to go to the front of the line. If you show up anywhere in your fatigues, front of the line, discount here or there, you get helped first when you go walk into a car dealership. And so that's kind of a perk, which I feel like it should be. You guys do what you do if you are a vet. And when it comes to the home buying process, here in Colorado Springs, I will definitely say if there is someone selling their home and they're a vet or active duty and they're going over offers and they see another VA loan come in, like 90% of the time they're going to pick that VA offer. Unless the offer is just off the wall, just can't do, it's not doable. They're gonna pick that VA offer though. Vets like helping vets. And we do get a lot of turnover here in Colorado Springs. People coming in, getting stationed here for a short time, they buy and then they gotta move and leave. They even like renting. People like buying and renting homes because they know they can rent it out to these military guys and these girls and military families. So I will say though, when buying a home and you are using your VA loan, that does hold a lot more power. It is a good loan to begin with, but it does hold more power here when making an offer in Colorado Springs because 50% of the time those people are going to be selling vet to vet. So something to keep in mind when moving here. If you're hearing about the crazy housing market everywhere and buyers are having a hard time getting their offer selected, come to Colorado Springs. If you use that VA offer, I guarantee you're probably not going to be looking that long. So that is my 8 things that you need to know when moving to Colorado Springs. And again, if you guys liked what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can get notified when I make my next video on everything that is Colorado Springs. So until next time, I hope you guys have a great day. See you then.